Hey guys, what's up? Hope your Tuesday is going well. Just thought I'd review something really interesting that I found this weekend. So I was reading, as I do, about the markets, and I came across this thing that relates to the 50% rule. So you all have probably heard of the 50% rule, that things tend to move in the market at 50%. They drop by 50%, they raise by 50%, all sorts of 50% wound in there. So you may have thought that this relates to Fibonacci numbers because oftentimes it's rolled in there. So on the right of your screen, I have the Fibonacci retracements here. So I've started at the bottom in 2009 and I've gone all the way to the top just recently. And 50% between those two, if we were to retrace that much, that would bring us back to SPY of 143.5. And I used SPY so I could do this volume profile here on the edge of the screen. But that roughly correlates to an S&P of around 1430, roughly. And I just wanted to show you that because that would be a common prediction, right? That we would drop by 50% if we dropped from the highs of recently. Now, if that's not a Fibonacci number, which it's not, then where did that come from? So as you can see, they just lump it in with these Fibonacci numbers right here, 50%. But in actuality, it goes as far back as a guy named Gann, William Gann, back in the early 1900s. So he had a whole bunch of really, really interesting theories having to do with technical analysis. So all sorts of angles that you can draw on the chart. But one of his more simple to understand theories or hypotheses was the 50% rule. So let's take an example. So if we go back to the highs back in 2000, back when the tech bubble was in full swing and everybody thought everything was quote unquote different at that time with all the technology that we had. So here was our bubble burst in the beginning of 2000, and this was right about 158 level on SPY. Just write that in here. So half of that would be 77, 76, 77. Because 80 would be 160, so 79. Sorry, 79. So we go down here, and our lows in 2002 were right about 77. So pretty close to 50%. So not bad. So it kind of works out. Now the interesting thing to me was you always look at 50% retracements. That's a very common thing. But you can also look at 50% extensions. So we got this low at 77. We see it kind of made like a little triple top, almost a head and shoulders, but really more of a triple bottom, and it started moving up. And if it's moving up and you're trying to figure out when it might find some resistance, you can look at 50%. So 50% of 77 is 38.5, roughly. So that gets us to about 115. And look where we first got our first resistance. This is at 117. So that's 50% up. So now what I want to emphasize here is that if you look at this number 158 and you think it's going to retrace, it doesn't always have to go to 50%. It didn't have to go down to 77 on the SPY. But if it gets there, the point is that you may experience some support at that level. or you'll likely experience some support. And same way on the way up. So that's not to say that it would definitely get to 117, but if it gets to 117, oftentimes you may experience some support, or some resistance, excuse me, which you did. So there's a little bit of resistance. It didn't hold. Obviously, it kept going, and the top ended up getting right about 158, 159 again, and then turned around. So in 2007, at that top, it turned around again. So 50% of that, again, would be around 177. So you can see this time, it kind of blew through that. So it went down to about 68 or so. So obviously, it does not work every single time. But you did see a little bit of support here. So around the 75 level, which isn't too far off. But if you had bought there, you could have made a little bit of money. You could have made, 10, 15 bucks in the next couple days. But what you want to do is make sure you have a stop loss order so you don't lose too much money, right? So the point is to keep some money, to keep as much money as you can and not lose money. All right? So what I'm not saying is that we're definitely going to retrace to this 143.5 level, this 50% level, but it's possible. And if you do see a retracement all the way to there, then you will probably see support. Now, my personal belief is that we have this level at 158 that, that we hit twice, moved down, hit this level in the 68 to 77 level twice. So this was like a channel, right? So I consider this a channel. Got our breakout here, and we've been moving up ever since. So if we retrace, I would think that the retracement would probably be to this 158 level. Or, if you believe in Fibonacci numbers, the 38.2% retracement is right here at 161.53. And I also think that because of this volume profile, which is the whole reason we're using the SPY today, right, instead of the S&P. So if you look right at this level, you see that the volume really increases below here. So that really places a good amount of support as I fill this in below this level. So about 158 on the SPY is where I would expect to see some support, even before the 50%. In fact, if it gets to this 50%, it's hard to see that there would be a whole ton of support right there. Probably end up going closer down here, which would be a big deal, down to the 130-ish range, because that's where we see a peak in the volume here. So pretty incredible. What I will do is I'll show you the SPX. So here we have our Fibonacci levels on the actual SPX. This is the S&P 500. So the previous highs back in 2000 and 2007 were right about 1562-ish. One was 1555, the other was 1576, thereabouts. So right around that level is where I would expect to see some support, which is pretty close to the 16.08 level right here, which would be the Fibonacci retracement. So all that being said, for now we're in a pretty decent uptrend. Like I talked about with the Elliott wave, it looks like we're right in our fifth ascending section right here, and we've just started that. So who knows how far that could go. Many people believe that we won't get a true down market for another couple years. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. If you do go by the Elliott wave, that's definitely very possible, because if you look at the length of these two segments, you know that there's a 2-year segment, this is a 4-year segment. So whether this fifth segment, it's often the shortest segment, but you know, it could be anywhere from ending tomorrow all the way up to 2 years and still be the shortest segment of this major uptrend. So anyway, that's a little bit of an aside. I mainly wanted to show you the 50% Gann rule and how it can be used and how it's worked out in the past. All right. Have a good week, everybody. I'll talk to you later on.